There was once a hunter who met an old dervish in the hills, and he said to the dervish, "How come you came to be wise?" And the dervish told him this story. "Well, once I was a man like you, and I lived with a wife who was beautiful and I loved. But one day I found her with my neighbour, and I was so upset. I asked her about it, but she took down a whip she kept above her bed, and she whipped me hard. And in the first strike of that, I turned into a dog, and she drove me out as a stray. Well, I wandered here, I wandered there, wondered what one does a dog. I tried to talk, but I only barked. I tried to walk on hind legs, but I couldn't. But I could jump up and down, and that was a consolation. And then I met a priest, and the priest, he looked at me, and he shook a stick, but I looked so sad, he started to pet me. He gave me a bit of meat to eat, and so I became that priest's dog. I dwelt with him for a while. He used to tell me, "Guard me in the night," and I used to guard him. I never slept an inch, for fear he would stop feeding me. And then one time, we were journeying. Round winter time it were, he was going to sing the song of Twelfth Night off in the far hills, and we came to a shepherd's barbie, and the shepherd said, "Now that's a fine dog. We wish it to help our dog guard against the wolves." And so the priest, he put me out at night, and I waited, and wolves came howling, and the shepherd's dogs barked, but they had had a lot of wine, and so they carried on snoring. But I knew what I had to do. I had killed wolves as a man, you see. I leapt into action, and jumped, and snapped, and jumped, and snapped, and by the end of the night, 12 wolves lay dead at my feet, while the shepherds, they bought me from the priest, who was quite willing to sell me. And so I became a shepherd's dog, killing wolves, until my fame became spread through the neighbourhood. Now it happened, the king of those parts, he had a daughter who was always sick, and it was said by his wise people that she was being visited by the brownies late at night. And so the king came to the shepherds, and he bought me, and he set me to guard the girl. Well, the first night I was chained, and I saw 12 swans flying into the room and torment the sleeping girl with their long legs and their long necks and legs and flapping wings. But I could do nothing, and the girl woke up just as before, and the king, he came at me with a knife, meaning to kill me, for such was his disappointment, when one of his courtiers said, No, I'm sure the dog is all right. Let it free." Well, the next day I waited, and the 12 swans came in the night, and I attacked them. 10 I slew, biting off their necks. But the 11th, she turned to me and said, "Please let me go, and I will show you how to become a man again." Well, the 12th, that flew away. I never knew where, I did not know where. So I let the 11th go, for a stab of hope came back that I could one day become a man. Well, the princess woke up the next day, happy as Larry, merry and chuckly. And the king, he was so happy. He made me his favourite dog. I was given as much food as I wanted, and a golden chain and everything, and as much freedom as I wanted as too. So I ran away. I ran back to my old home, wondering if my wife had repented and she could turn me back to a man. But seeing me, she drove me off. And I ran into another house, where there was another woman, and she got down from above the bed the whip, the same whip it seemed, or the identical whip, the one my wife had used against me, and she whipped me. And I turned back into a man. And she said, you know, there were 12 brownies. You killed 2, took the form of swans. You killed 10. Let me the 11th go, and the 12th is your wife. And if you would have your revenge on her, take this whip and use it against her, and see what she truly is. And so I took the whip, and I went off to my house, and there was my wife with her lover asleep, and I whipped the pair of them. And you know, my wife, she turned into a he-ass, and her lover, my neighbour, why, he turned into a she-ass. I still have them in the yard, and they worked for me for this day. And since then I have been a wise man, and a whirling dervish. And when he heard the tale, the hunter ran out of the hills he had found himself in, and never returned again.